Hair is primarily made up of dead keratinized cells. So just like the epidermis, hair is made of very similar cells. If we look at the structure of a hair, the follicle is just the tube that the hair is growing in. So it's just the opening in the epidermis and dermis. The hair shaft is basically everything from here up. So the part of the hair that's not actually attached to the skin itself. And then the hair bulb is this area here, and this is the part of the hair that's actually attached to the base of the follicle. And this is actually where new hair is growing. So cells in the hair bulb divide and push the old cells up and out of the follicle. So kind of similar to the epidermis, the newer cells are being made at the deeper levels, and it's pushing the older cells towards the surface where it dies. So the hair itself, it doesn't hurt to get your hair cut, and that's because the hair itself is dead. There are no sensory receptors associated with the shaft of the hair. But if you were to pluck or tweeze or wax a hair, it will likely hurt because the bulb is a living part of the hair that is attached to sensory receptors. But the outer part of your hair here is just made up of keratin. So it's that protein that's also found in the skin that helps to give it some strength and structure. Just like the skin, your hair color is also determined by melanin. So you've got melanocytes that are in the hair papilla, and the hair papilla is just part of the hair bulb itself. So it's down there in the root. And so the more melanin you make, the darker your hair will be. The less melanin you make, the lighter your hair will be. And people with red hair just have a different form of melanin that has a red pigment to it. So whether you're blonde or you're brunette or you have black hair or red hair, it's all due to the amount of melanin and the type of melanin that is in your hair. Your hair color is genetically determined, unless of course you go buy some hair dye and change it. But the amount of melanin you make will be determined by your genetics. And as you get older, your melanocyte activity decreases in your hair, and it's not able to make that melanin pigment as efficiently as it used to, and that's what happens when your hair turns gray or white, because the gray and the white is basically the color of your hair without any melanin in it. Your nails are another accessory structure associated with the integumentary system, and the functions are primarily to protect the tips of your fingers and toes, and it helps you pick up small objects or flat objects like a credit card that gets dropped on the ground. And just like your hair and your skin, the nail itself is primarily made up of dead keratinocytes. So once again, it's those cells that produce keratin. And so your nails really show you how strong that keratin can be, because your nails are pretty much just tightly packed keratin. Other accessory structures associated with the integumentary system include glands. So let's start out by talking about sweat glands, which are also called sudoriferous glands. There are two types of sweat glands, eccrine sweat glands and apocrine sweat glands. So eccrine sweat glands are the ones that you're probably more familiar with. These are the ones that produce sweat when you get too hot, and that sweat helps to pull heat out of the body and release it into the environment. Your sweat glands are found all over your body, but they're especially abundant on the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and your forehead. The sweat that comes out of the eccrine sweat glands is primarily made up of water, but it also has some salt, so it's got some sodium and chloride. It's got some antibiotic properties, so it's got antibodies and antimicrobial molecules, both of which to help make your skin kind of a bad environment for bacteria. So if bacteria lands in your skin, it's going to encounter these immune substances that are going to kill it before it can get deeper into your body. And then sweat is also one way to get rid of metabolic waste products. So what that means is the majority of your waste products are actually excreted in your urine, but your sweat does release some of that as well. you still need functioning kidneys in order to get rid of those waste products because your sweat is not going to get rid of enough in order to make a big difference. Now, another type of sudoriferous gland is the apocrine sudoriferous gland or sweat gland. And these are the ones that basically make you stinky when you hit puberty. So apocrine sweat glands are located in the genital and axillary regions. So genital region has to do with the kind of around the groin and the penis and the vagina, and axillary refers to the armpit. Apocrine sweat glands are all associated with hair follicles. And the sweat is a slightly different composition than the sweat released by eccrine sweat glands. So there's still water and salt, but it also has other organic compounds. And those organic compounds are what make you stinky because there are bacteria that live on the surface of your skin. And those bacteria break down those organic compounds for energy, and they release a bad smell as a byproduct. And so the body odor is actually not really created by your body, but it's created by bacteria living on your body, eating the sweat coming from your apocrine sweat glands. Your apocrine sweat glands become more active at puberty, so it's related to hormones. So as your hormones become more active at puberty, so do these sweat glands. And the function is technically unknown, but one kind of evolutionary theory is that it helps to communicate sexual maturity. So nowadays we have developed language and we can walk up to each other and say, hi, I would like to reproduce with you, and I am mature enough to do that. But if you think back to cavemen back in the days where they didn't have much of an ability to communicate with each other, the presence of that body odor smell was one way that kind of communicated that someone was of reproductive age and able to produce offspring. Another type of gland associated with the body are sebaceous glands, and these are the glands that secrete the sebum or the oil all over your body. The functions of sebaceous glands are to lubricate and waterproof the skin and hair. So when your hair and your skin get oily, it's because of the oil released from the sebaceous glands. Sebum also has some antibacterial properties, so it helps to protect your skin and the deeper organs from being infected by things like bacteria and viruses. It also helps to kind of waterproof your skin. So it helps to keep water in your skin to help keep you hydrated. The secretion is stimulated by hormones, and like the apocrine sweat glands, they become more active at puberty. They are active prior to puberty, but one symptom of puberty is oily skin and hair, and that's because the hormones associated with puberty increase the production of sebum.